Hi, George.
Hi, good evening, Harold. How's it going?
Good. I have greetings for you from the Swedish massage therapist,
Oh, from Serge?
Peter.
Peter. Oh, he's such a nice guy.
Yes, yes. I was
I
talking
used to
about
use him all the time.
right. That's
And
what he said.
and
Yeah.
then things got a little hectic, and then coming here where my home is now became a little bit of a challenge. And
Oh,
my wife really likes this other person, so we've been using this other guy.
oh. All right.
But I may consider using Peter. The only reason I like Peter so much is that he really puts a lot of effort into
Oh,
helping
yeah,
you.
yeah. He gives a good massage.
No question, Harold. No
Yeah, yeah.
question. Yeah, yeah.
It's funny. He was talking about something Jewish, and then he started telling a story about this kidney specialist. He teaches at UCLA. He mentioned the name George. And I said, "Wait, I know who you're talking about." This
The
small world,
world
as
is
they say.
so bad.
Yeah.
Question: where do you go to David normally? Which
Young
shul?
Israel Hancock Park.
Okay.
On La Brea, yeah.
I go to the Young Israel North Beverly Hills,
Right.
and it's a this now davening is becoming challenged because everybody left to go to Israel on a mission.
Oh, wow. Well, we
The
Nati
problem
Robbins
we
was,
have, I don't know about you guys, you
yeah,
may have a larger population, but I find that the core of people that go and daven every day is
yeah.
very small.
It's very small. Yeah.
And it makes me meshuggah because what happens is all it takes is for vacation time or the summer and people and you're in trouble.
Well, next week is Yeshiva week and people are traveling, so it's going to be a challenge as well.
What
Yeah.
I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to get my son-in-law, my son, and anybody I can get a hold of.
You got to sign up a lot of people.
Yeah, hoping that if you sign up 3 or 4 people, one person will show up for you.
Right. Yeah. It's a
It's
numbers
funny.
game.
That was my big thing to myself. I said once I get done with with my work
Yeah.
and I have the opportunity to have the mornings free, I said I'll do 2 things. I'm going to start learning, and
Uh,
I'm going to start going to shul every day if I can.
okay. It's on tape. We have it taped.
You know what? For me that the challenge is the fact that we are my challenge is the fact that sorry about that.
Yeah.
My big challenge is the fact that the hour, because we have to move it around, sometimes
Right.
coincides with when I'm helping my family, my wife, and stuff. So I
Well,
do it.
Ernie comes first.
Yep. Oh, listen, as I enjoy it, I think it's great.
Were we holding 76?
Yeah,
We're on
that's where he is. I'm already up
Vav.
at 78.
I and Vav. We're on
I'm
7.
Vav. Ernie,
Hi,
Ernie, Ernie.
Hi, George.
Yeah, I heard that you have a shear with Nati and that it's an amazing, amazing shear on Thursdays.
No, well, we go to a shir, Tzvika Reisman,
Right.
was a chavrusa. Nati comes to that. Yes, it's a very good shir.
What's it on?
No, I will send you an example. He sends an email with the subject matter and the Mekorot, the sources.
It's on Zoom.
It's on Zoom, and it's on contemporary halachic problems. A lot of it's medical.
Ernie, you can send him the
I will
the link.
I will
You
send
can send him the link for
Because
today.
Nati is after me. He said, this is something you need to do. All right. Very good.
I'll send you so you can check it out, and then you can do it by Zoom. A lot of people do it by Zoom.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Okay. I involved. Ganav, a thief stole the Higdish, and what he stole, he gave to the Beis Hamikdash. And then he shecht. So the Mishnah said you don't have to pay Dalad Vehei. Amr. I understand why he's not going to have to pay the fine for shechting the chikot tavach, the English kotavach. he didn't have an owner. The owner was Hegdish, below the Mariko Tovak, and was not the original owner. But the Gemara now wants to say, Ela Hegdish l'chayim. Let the fact that he donated, he was magdish the item, that alone is like a sale. Mali machra lehedyet, mali machra l'shamayim. What's the difference if I sold it to an individual? What's the difference if it was sold to heavenly purposes? So the Gemara responds, Hamani Rab Shimoni, the Omar, Kodshim shechayv b'achri yusin b'rshusei demorikaim. There are certain kodshim that if the animal is lost, you are required to replace it. And if so, Rab Shimon holds, it's as if it's still owned by the owner. Therefore, when the Ganav shechts it, it was, even though it was hugdash to the Beis HaMikdash, it's considered still in the ownership of the owner because he has to make good if it gets lost. So the Gemara says, Hamid Sefer Rab Shimon, Havarei Lav Rab Shimon. You quoted the Mishnah as Rab Shimon, the end of it. So the first part should not be Rab Shimon. So we need another reason as to why Hegdish is not like selling. Elachim ha'eskinan b'kochim kalim, v'alibed Rabbi Yossi Aglili, the Amar kochim kalim mamen bailim. Kochim kalim, so kochim are korbanos like an ola, a chatas, or an asham. Kochim kalim is like a shlomim, where the owner gets to eat it. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, those type of kochim, from a monetary point of view, it's considered still owned by the owner. And therefore, that's why if the Ganav shechted it, he has to pay dal vehe. So what? Says the Gemara, kochi mai. Do you really have to pay dal vehe if you shecht kochim kalim? It doesn't make sense stylistically for the Mishnah, because adatani reisha gana v'tovach v'achar higdish, if he stole and shechted and only then was magdish, you say meshanta shlemar v'chamisha. So liflog v'lisne b'didei. Immediately the Gemara should say b'med var mamorim. When does that work b'kochim kalim? Aval b'kochim kochim meshanta shlemar arba v'chamisha. If this is correct, el la'olam loishna kochim kochim loishna kochim kalim. There's no difference. Why is being magdish to the Beis HaMikdash not considered like selling it? So machro lehedyot meikara toward the ruin v'asher toward the shimon. If you sell shimon and ox, so it used to be called Ruvain's ox, and now it's Shimon's ox. Machro l'shamayim meikara toward the ruin v'asher toward the Ruvain. Beis HaMikdash also, even though you were magdish, they call it, oh, that's Ruvain's shore. So it stays in the ownership, and therefore there hasn't been a transfer of ownership, and therefore there's no dal vehe paid if you're magdish as a ganav. Then Reb Shimon Oimer, that kochim that you have to replace, you have to pay dal vehe if you steal from him. The Edus of Reb Shimon, Mali machar ledyot, mali machol shamayim. So Reb Shimon had this concept regarding being magdish something. It's similar to being sold. Ipkama boile. It should be said in reverse. Kochim shechai b'achri yusuf. Those types of korbanos that if they get lost, you'd have to replace. Potter. You don't have to pay davei if you were magdish it, because akati lo nafik mershusei. Because we just explained, when you sell something to somebody, you actually change owners. But here we don't change owners. Kochim she'eno chai b'achriyusim. Now, kochim that you don't have to be responsible for, the ganef would be chayiv. The mafkile meshuse. When he was magdish it, he took it out of the ownership of the original owners as if he sold it. So Amri, Rav Shimon HaMilsa Achrisa Koy. That statement of Rav Shimon is going on a different subject. V'hochi Tani. Ein hagoynef achra ganef, mishalet tashlemei arba'im v'chamisha. Ruvain steals something, and then Shimon steals from Ruvain. The second ganef doesn't have to pay dal v'hei. V'chein. Goynev hegdish b'beis bailim. Let's say Ruvain had an animal and he was magdish it. And the Shimon comes along and steals that animal. Potu. My timer. The goynev mibeis ha'ish. Below mibeis hegdish. When do you pay dal v'hei? You have to steal from an individual's house, not from hegdish. And on that, Reb Shimon responded, it depends. Koshim shechai b'achriyusin, if the owner would have to come up with another animal if the animal was lost, then chayiv. Then the ganav would be chayiv. My time of Karinim Bey, the gonav beis ha'ish. Since he has to come up with a replacement, it's considered it still belongs to the ish. And then, if he doesn't have to make good the animal that was lost, potter. That kind of hegdish, it's not considered that he's still the owner of the corpse. So according to Rav Shimon, who says that in certain situations, if you steal and it was magdish and you shechted, you'd still have to pay dal v'hei. Michdei shaminan lei, Rav Shimon, the Amar shchita she'en ru'iyah lo shema shchita. But there's another problem. We've been taught that Rav Shimon says that if the ganef does a shchita that you cannot eat from the animal, then it's not considered a shchita that would make you pay dal v'hei. So, for example, if you shech the animal, it's treifa. You can't eat it. You don't have to pay dal v'hei. It's not a real shchita. So the same thing says the Gemara now. Kodshim nami shchita she'en ru'yahi. If you take an animal, you shecht it outside the base of Mikdash, it's possible, it's asr bano, you can't eat it. So why would you pay dal v'hei according to Rav Shimon? Ki yasser Rav Dimi, Amar b'shem Rav Yochanan, b'shoichet tmimim.
Sorry, Ernie. Who are you going to pay the dalad hay to? The Beis Hamikdash or the original owner?
The original owner, who you stole from.
But the original owner, it wasn't in the gather of Kodshim at that time.
Yeah, because we said you only pay dal v'hei in that case if the owner has to make good on the animal if it gets lost or stolen. So in essence, he's still the bailim. That's why the payment is made to him.
Okay.
So now the Gemara asks, but why would he have to pay anything? The shchita is a shchita she'eina ru'iyah. So now the Gemara says, this is talking about a case, shoichet tmimim b'vifnim. It was shechted inside the base of Mikdash when it was a tamim. So you'd be able to, it's kosher la krav and kosher to eat. It was shechted in the right place. And it was shechted l'shem bailim. And he had in mind the original owner. So, Harei Chazar Karen the Bailim. So basically, he didn't cause the Bailim to loot out anything. He at least returned the Karen, the principal, because the Bailim get credit for that korban. So why would you have to pay kefil? You already gave him Karen. On Rav Yitzchak Baravin, Shenishpach Adam, that something happened. They collected the dam and it spilled. So he was not mechaper. So that's why he has to pay kefil. But it's not a problem with a shchita she'eina ru'uya because it was a korban shechted in the right place. Kiyasar Ravin Amar B'Shem Rav Yochanan, a different answer. B'shoichet tmimi bifnim shelo l'shem bailim. He shechted korbanos that were without a mum inside the base of Mikdash, but not in mind for those bailim. So you can eat such a korban. So it's a shechita re'uya, but the bailim don't get credit because they didn't have him in mind. So there's no chazar of the Karen to the bailim. Reish Lakish Amar b'shoichet balei mumim b'chutz. A different example of when it would work. The Ganav shechted a Baal Mum outside. Since it's a Baal Mum, it's not Kodshim, and shechting it would allow you to eat it. However, Toi bought Rabbi Lozer. Rabbi Lozer wondered about this. So the Rav Yochanan, Shchita Materes, it's not Shchita that allows you to eat an animal. Valozrika Materes. When you shecht the animal, you have to receive the blood in a vessel. And then you have to throw the blood. Now, if the blood was spilled, it wasn't thrown, because that's how we explained, the korban still can't be eaten. So the shechita is not a shechita ruya. And even according to Reish Lakish, shechita materes, it means if you have an animal that it was a korban and now has a mum, you can't just shecht it, halopdiya materes. You have to redeem it. If the animal is worth $100, you have to give $120 set aside to buy a new animal. You have to pay a 20% fine. Now the kedusha is transferred to the money. There's no kedusha on the animal. You can shecht it. It's not the shechita, it's the pediyah. So ishtamite ha Rav Shimon. This Rabbi Lozer who asked these two kachas forgot the rule of Rav Shimon. Because we described the case that the dam had not been thrown. It spilled. But for one moment, they had received the blood and it was ready to be done the zrika. And there's a principle. If you're ready to do it, it's as if it was done. And even if it wasn't done in action, it doesn't change the din of the korban, you're allowed to eat. Another rule of Rab Shimon, if the animal is available to have redemption, and this animal is, even though it hasn't physically been redeemed, it's as if it's been redeemed. So then it's a shchita ru'uya. Now, where do we see this principle? That blood that is ready to be thrown on the mizbeach, even if it's not physically done, it's as if it's done. The Tanya, Rab Shimon Oimer. Normally, a food that is asr ba'na, and therefore you can't eat it, if something that is tummy touches it, it cannot become tummy. However, yesh noiser, if you have a korban that has to be consumed by the next morning, and the meat remains beyond the next morning, it's puzzle like noiser. Therefore, you can't eat it. If you eat kazais, you get kores. It's asr ba'na. But there's noiser, shumetame tumesoichle, that if a sheretz falls on it, it'll become tummy. But yesh noiser shein metame tumesoichle. There is a noiser that will not become tummy. Ketsa. Lon lifnei zrika. You shecht an animal. You didn't do the zrika sadam. You left the meat around until the next morning. If a sheretz falls on that meat, the meat doesn't become tummy. Why? Since the blood was not nizrak, the meat never became muksher to be eaten. So it never had a shasa kosher. But if you shechted the korban shlami and you did zrika sadam, and then you left the meat till the next morning, la'achar zrika, mitami tumasoichel. The kaimalon, and we explain my lifnei zrika, koidim shenira lizrika. It doesn't have to. As long as it was roy lizrika, it's considered lifnei zrika. La'achar zrika means la'achar shenira lizrika. And koidim shenir lizrika lon mayi. How could it be that? Shalohav yeshos bayom lemizrake. Let's say you shechted it right before shkiyas achava. The shachtei samach l'shkiyas achava. So you never had the opportunity to do zrika. In such a case, if the meat is left over till tomorrow morning, eino metame tumasoich, was never considered food. Because in order for it to be considered food that you can eat, there has to be zrika sadam. It was not. La'achar shenir l'zrika lon, davi shayis b'yom lemizraki. As long as it was shechted prior to shkia, where there would be time to do the zrika, that's already considered near l'zrika. And metame tumasoichlin alma, we see from this according to Rav Shimon, kol ha'omed l'zarik kazarik dam. Even if you physically have not done zrika to the dam, if it's ready to do the zrika, it's considered as if been zoruk. And kol ha'omed liftois kapodi dami. If an animal is ready to be redeemed, even though you haven't redeemed it, it's considered as if it's been redeemed. Tomorrow, we will learn at 2:30 because there's
Ernie, the minyan is at 2:30.
We're going to learn at 3 o'clock our regular time. We have a mincha at 2:30. We'll be able to learn at the 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Now,
What's the Shabbos?
a change. Navi Shia remains 7 o'clock.